Hello everyone, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the Styrian region of Austria. Here we are in Spielberg, and it is qualifying 2 for this round 3 of Ferrari Challenge Europe, which sees our Shell Am and Shell drivers take to the track for qualifying then. 30 minutes on the clock for each of our drivers to set the best lap time they can to give them the best grid position for the race to come. As I mentioned, this is round 3. We've been to La Cassale, to Mugello. Here we are on the shortest circuit of the season before heading off to the longest circuit on the season as we support the 24 Hours of Le Mans at the Circuit de la Sarthe. From there we head to Portimao, then Budapest, and then it is Barcelona, mid-November. An awesome calendar for 2026. As you can see, some harmless high cloud and clear blue skies at the moment, which is beautiful weather. Track temperature 15 degrees, the air temperature it's 9 degrees at the moment. We are of course expecting both of those temperature quotients to increase during the course of the day. It's still early morning here, just ahead of 9 a.m. local time. And this is the circuit then here at Spielberg, 4.3 kilometers. There are 10 turns, 3 left, 7 right. The huge elevation change from the start-finish straight of some 63.5 meters between the start-finish straight and turn 3. We're about an hour from Graz, maybe 2.5 hours from Vienna, and a similar time from Salzburg. The region then, as you can see, is mountainous. It is a forested state in southern Austria, known for its wines, spas, and for its castles. We will be seeing Stephen Earle, Paolo Scudieri, and Boris Gideon, along with Ernst Kirchmeier, Jean Rieu, Henrik Kamstrup, Masaru Yaneda, and Shintaro Akatsu, along with Tommy Lindroth and Lisa Clark and Tibor Valent and Charles Chan and Khaled Boudai, along with Fritz Müller, Ken Sato, and Giuseppe Ramelli. And completing the lineup will be Sven Schirmer, von Skeltermar, Alois Meyer, Karl Runfeld, Leon Rinbeek, Eric Chung, and Alexei Komarov. Those are our mix of Shell and Shell Am drivers. And those are delighted residents that will be watching on, I'm sure, from the fields that surround this wonderful circuit. And I suspect that they get quite used to the activities on track, and it doesn't bother them one little bit, as Henrik Kamstrup then gets himself ready with crash helmet and hands device. Henrik Kamstrup is one of our Shell Am drivers, therefore he has a black strip across the top of his windscreen and black across the graphics as Dr. Stephen Earle goes through a routine of warm-up. Tommy Lindroth as well, 2 of the huge characters in the Ferrari Challenge, and here is Lisa Clark. And Lisa Clark, who has raced not only here in Europe but also in North America as well. Championship driver is Lisa Clark. So I was saying then that the drivers can be distinguished. Now, a yellow strip across the top of the car of Lisa Clark indicates that Lisa is a Shell driver. Whereas if you have a black strip across the top of the windscreen, like Shintaro Akatsu, who we can see right now in the 115 car, it means they're a Shell Am driver. Alongside me is my colleague Nico Spalek for qualifying, and 30 minutes about to get underway. We are about 45 seconds away from the light going green at the end of the pit lane, Nico.
Absolutely. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a sunny Spielberg circuit. The weather forecast was always supposed to be better today than it was yesterday, but actually we had a fairly decent day and no precipitation across the day that affected any of the racing. So that means the drivers will have used their Pirelli P0 slick tires yesterday, and that also means generally the drivers will come out in this session early on yesterday's scrub tires, get themselves, the car, the brakes in rhythm, and then change sometime during the session on a fresh set, and we'll go about time chase in earnest. But the session gets underway in about 5 seconds from now, and we look forward to some great action. We had some great action already yesterday, Dave.
Indeed so. It was drama-filled, both the race and qualifying, as is often the case. So the lights go green at the end of the pit lane, exactly on time, and the first of the runners make their way out of the very narrow pit lane here at Spielberg Circuit, and then find themselves on the exit of turn 1, and that's where they are right now, and heading up towards the kink, which is turn 2, and then the brilliant turn 3, which I absolutely love here at Spielberg. It is the highest part of the circuit. That is the Ernst Kirchmeier car. Driver 106, Austrian, and Ernst, who is a relative, and he won't mind me saying this, a relative newcomer to motor racing. Late in life, he took to the track, and my goodness me, how successful has he been? Very, and much of that success in the Ferrari Challenge. Now, on track, he was winning yesterday. However, picked up a penalty, and he still got a podium, but it wasn't the podium place that he would like. This is Sven Schirmer that we're looking at right now, who took a P2 yesterday. He has been a race winner this year, but only one race win, and then a couple of P2s. So Sven Schirmer would like to be a winner here at Spielberg, and he's certainly got the ability to do that, and that is his driver coach Andrea Gagliardini, who you can see there as they're taking a look at all the data that is available to them. That's a nice piece of camera art from our team, looking through one of the rims here that's standing by with a new set of Pirellis, I would suggest, as we look at Ernst Kirchmeier now going through his warm-up routine. Just bringing everything up to temperature, brakes, tyres, and the thing is, Ernst knows this track probably better than any of our other drivers. It is local track to him, and as I say, he was certainly on the podium yesterday. Perhaps not the step of the podium that he would have liked to have been on, but let's see if he can right the wrongs of yesterday today. Another driver that wants to right the wrongs of yesterday is this man, Fons Skeltermar, who qualified really, really well, and then right at the 11th hour, just as the cars are on the grid ready to go for the race, Fons Skeltermar had to pull out, and his car was pushed back into the garages. So having done a brilliant job in qualifying, Fons was really, really disappointed. If he has any advantage, it will be that he, of course, will have two sets of tyres available to him, so he can really, really go for it in qualifying, because he wasn't able to use any of the rubber that he had reserved for his race yesterday, sadly. So Fons Skeltermar driving the 177 car, the one made famous by the shark's teeth across the front of it. So he makes his way through turn 3 now and heads down and starts the roller coaster that this circuit here in the Styrian region of Austria is really rather famous for. Here's turn 4, which continues this roller coaster. It's a right-hander, and you are constantly going downhill right now. And that gravel trap has caught a number of drivers out in the past. So Sven Schirmer has posted a time of 1:33.969. That's not too meaningful. We have seen times in the 1:29s, and today Nick Owai has to suggest the track and weather conditions were even better than previously.
Yes, for sure. That's the expectation level, certainly with the sun already out. As I said, it was dry yesterday, but very much overcast. So temperature, track temperature, air temperature, everything is going to be pretty much perfect. Not too high, not too low. As we see Stefano Guy, great guy, pun very much intended, former Ferrari Challenge champion and Ferrari GT racer across various categories, including the Italian GT Championship, and giving his advice and input to various drivers. There is the 132 car, or it was actually the 180 car of Alois Meyer, obviously local driver, Austrian. And we go on board looking at the telemetry as he's in that end of that middle part of the track. Now approaching the final 2 turns, the double right-hander. Track limits very much a topic here. We've seen quite a few laps disallowed yesterday on the exit of those 2 turns, because you can really get a slingshot if you just run over the painted lines. But he held it together nicely. As you said, time's not really indicative just yet, but that will come as Sven Schirmer currently heads the timing and has improved by a few more tenths, but it's still in the 133s as Jean Roux and then Eric Chung immediately better though. So 131.631, slowly but steadily shaving off tenths and seconds towards the time that we expect by the end of the session.
And a contributor to that will of course be that most of the drivers will come in and put a new set of Pirelli tyres on. They'll use these scrub sets to get their eye in for the first part of this qualifying session. Then around about half distance, you'll see most of the drivers come in and change to a new set of tyres. Eric Chung currently leading the timesheets with a 1:31.631. Von Skeltermar has got close with a 1:32.274. As I say, he's a driver that will have the bit between his teeth today because of the disappointment through no fault of his own yesterday. So Ernst Kirchmayr we ride on board with, and we run the telemetry on him. He's in 4th gear right now. He's slowly accelerating as continues down. You can see how the car nearly snaps, and a little tap of the brake pedal, stays in 4th gear, accelerates hard now before this winding right-hander, and then back on the throttle again, 5th gear, pulling 240 kilometers per hour in 6th gear before having to brake again and turn in for this double right-hander almost. It's not quite a double right-hander, but it feels like it as you bring the lap to a conclusion and head towards the start-finish straight and the timing line, break the timing beam. There's a speed camera there, indicative of just how much speed is being carried by these wonderful 296 Challenge cars. And in replay here, you can see Ernst Kirchmayr, super slow-mo, just how hard he is pushing this 296 Challenge car through turn 1, heading up towards the kink, which is turn 2, and then the wonderful turn 3 that I really do revere here. Masaru Yaneda had a great time of it in the race yesterday. On the podium, it was a wonderful Asia-Pacific podium, in fairness, with Masaru Yaneda on the podium, Jean Roux on the podium, and Charles Chan on the podium as well. And Masaru Yaneda is currently 5th fastest overall. Make that 5th fastest within class. Charles Chan and Jean Roux are the 2 drivers that are slightly ahead of him, but Shintaro Akatsu is the quickest of our Shell Am drivers. The quickest Shell driver now is Von Skeltermar, who, as I mentioned, has got things to prove, but so too has Ernst Kirchmayr. Look at this, 2 purple sectors, Sector 1 and Sector 2. To my knowledge, Ernst Kirchmayr is still on a set of used tyres, and he's going quicker than anybody else at the moment. He's about to round the lap out. He has one more turn to do before heading towards the timing beam. This could be a new provisional P1 place from Ernst Kirchmayr from Kessel Racing. Sure enough, it is a 1:31.029. He's taken a 1/10 and a half out of the time set by Von Skeltermar and then bettered by Sven Schirmer. So actually he's taken half a second out of the Von Skeltermar time and a 1/10 and a half out of Sven Schirmer's time. So this is the new set of tyres going on to the Stephen Earle car. So Stephen Earle, perhaps earlier than I thought in this qualifying session, is putting a new set of Pirellis onto the car. And let's see what he can do now. So Stephen Earle, who was down there in class at the moment, P9, I think. Perhaps Nico going a bit earlier, just 9 minutes into the session, and he's putting a new set of tyres on.
Yeah, I mean, every driver and every coach and their teams will think about and have a strategy.
Andrea Gagliardini and Sven Schirmer's partner there, Farnas, waving at us. They listen to everything we say, you know.
I hope not. Yeah, everybody will have their own strategy before the session, and then obviously adjust that as things progress. We've seen a few drivers who haven't even come out, including Tibor Valent and Henrik Kamstrup, Paulus Scudieri, who've decided to not come out on the default strategy of going out on yesterday's Pirelli P0s and going out on a second set, a fresh set later in the session. There we can see, I think, the Ernst Kirchmayr car. Oh, sorry, it's Von Skeltermar. Who's took the Shark, and there you can see inside the cockpit how the Shark theme permeates his racing existence and persona. As we switch to Shintaro Akatsu, indicator on, will that mean that he's come into the pit lane on this occasion? We'll see. And indeed, Shintaro Akatsu for the time being leads the Ams with 1:31.693, and there is Sven Schirmer on the podium yesterday, but it wasn't the step that he was looking for necessarily.
No, he was quite satisfied with what he was able to achieve, and he felt he had achieved everything that was available to him. But of course, he will be wanting to go better today. Thus far in qualifying, he is second fastest. Ernst Kirchmeier has bested him by about a tenth and a half as we look at Fritz Müller right now. And Fritz Müller out there on track for Go Motorsport Engstler. Done a personal best through Sector 1. He is second fastest in the Shell Am drivers at the moment, so for Fritz Müller, who also a local driver, it's looking reasonable for him at the moment, but it is Ernst Kirchmeier, Sven Schirmer, von Skeltermar, Eric Chung, the top 4 Shell drivers, and the best of the Am drivers, Shintaro Akatsu, ahead of this driver, Fritz Müller, who is second. Then it is Masaru Yaneda and Giuseppe Ramelli for Pellin Racing, doing a good job, P4 at the moment for the Shell Am drivers. Giuseppe Ramelli, who buoyed with the fact that he enjoyed dinner almost alongside us last night, and I'm sure that will add a couple of 100s to his time.
Add or subtract? That's the question here. Fritz Müller crosses the timing line, as you can see. Usurps Shintaro Akatsu in the AMs, takes P1 in class, 4th overall, and good lap from Friedrich Müller, Fritz Müller, as he likes to be called, for Go Motorsport Engstler. He obviously also local driver from Austria. This is his home gig, which will add potentially more track knowledge, but certainly even more motivation.
This is the car of Ernst Kirchmeier. So you can see the R1 on the tyre there. That indicative that it was a scrub set from yesterday. It's a new set of Pirellis go on to the Ernst Kirchmeier car. Here's Paolo Scudieri, 1:31.029, the best time that has come from Ernst Kirchmeier so far. But now with a new set of tyres going on, I rather feel that we're going to see even more from Ernst Kirchmeier. It's Kirchmeier, Schirmer, Skeltermar, the top 3. Here is Sven Schirmer then, having put a new set of boots on. He's on his way out of the pit lane. There is the 1-1-4 car of Masaru Yaneda, who did a good job yesterday in the race. His driver coach there, they're just taking a look at the data, seeing where Masaru can perhaps improve during qualifying. He's certainly not doing a bad job because he's 3rd fastest. Now, Alexei Komarov had a terrible time of it yesterday, had a coming together, and it was 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I don't think we're going to portion blame to anybody for what happened to Alexei Komarov. It certainly wasn't Alexei's fault, but quite some damage to the Scuderia Prague car. But Alexei Komarov, good to see him back out again and doing personal bests in Sector 1 and Sector 2. So let's see what Alexei Komarov is able to do today. I've said it more than once. I'm really seen as Alexei Komarov has been with the Ferrari Challenge. He's come on leaps and bounds in terms of his racecraft, and now is a really awesome driver to watch. So Alexei Komarov then driving, as I mentioned, for the Scuderia Prague team. Let's see what sort of a time he can post now, and where that will place him within class. Well, he improves 4 places within class. He goes to P8 in the Shell Am category of drivers. The best of the Shell Am drivers is Fritz Müller, and there is Alexei Komarov. As I say, he didn't have the rub of the green yesterday, Nico, and coming together with Henrik Kamstrup, if memory serves me correctly. And Henrik and Alexei both out again today, which is really, really good to see.
Yeah, and more drivers coming side by side. That includes Boris Gideon, who had an off in qualifying yesterday, however was able to take part in the race.
And Boris actually pulled me to one side yesterday and said, Dave, do me a favour and really give a big shout out to my team, Riller and Schnauk, for getting the car back out again. He said it was completely his fault. The team were the ones that suffered for that, and he was really grateful to them for how hard they worked in terms of getting the car out there. And he said they've done a wonderful job. The car is every bit as good as it was before I dinged it. So that's really rather humbling, isn't it, when a driver takes on responsibility and knows just how hard his team has got to work to ensure that he can go out there and ply his trade, as it were. And it almost reminds me of a scenario with one Mr. Dario Carzo from many seasons ago, when he too dinged the car and actually was very much, I don't know quite whether he was an assistance to the engineering team or a nuisance, but he certainly wanted to be in the garage with his sleeves rolled up and 19mm spanner in hand to try and help get that car back out again, and if memory serves me, they did.
Yeah, enigmatic character if there ever was one, and we've seen quite a lot of them in the Ferrari Challenge. Von Skeltemer, a very familiar and very friendly, positive face, not as enigmatic as maybe a Dario Caso, and very quick he is as well. Just completes his first lap on the fresh set of tires, keeps him in P3, but I expect the next one is gonna be one to reckon with. Jean Roux, you already mentioned he race winner yesterday, and you follow suit. 4th overall, but more importantly, maybe first in class. As with 14 minutes remaining, we get into the hot part of this session, if you will. This is where most of the drivers will come on the set of Pirellis that they figure will give them the best chance at competing for pole. And Alexei Komarov, well done, currently P6 and still improving on this lap.
So too is Von Skeltemer. You can see the purple sector time from Von Skeltemer through sector 1. 3rd fastest in the Shell drivers, and Alexei Komarov currently 6th fastest for the Shell Am drivers. But Alexei hoping for an improvement here as he breaks the timing beam now. Alexei Komarov, again in a show of wanting to support the Scuderia Prague team and say thank you for all their efforts, has put the car P1 in the Shell Am category, which to the best of my knowledge is the first time Alexei Komarov has led the Shell Am qualifying. So fair play. Von Skeltemer, he was held up a little in sector 2 through no fault of any other driver. It's just traffic out there. You can't make your car just disappear. This will potentially be not the improvement Von Skeltemer was looking for, but he will go again. And here you can see Von Skeltemer, who encountered some traffic, and that probably compromised the lap that he was on. And it's all about finding space on the track. And when the track is a relatively short one, as it is indeed here at the Spielberg circuit, just means you have to try that bit harder, and Boris Gideon's certainly trying harder now as he's got purple sector 1, purple sector 2, which means he's done personal best time across those 2 sectors. So this could be an improvement from his previous P8 in class as he bounces across the curb on the entry to the final turn and breaks the timing beam right now, and Boris Gideon goes from P8 to P1, Nico.
Indeed, and that's the 2nd best time overall, only bested by Ernst Kirchmeier. So really, really good time, and just reinforcing what you said about the car being every bit as good and quick, and the great work that his team has done. Jean Roux, we just saw take P1 in the AMS, finds himself 3rd. That's the staple of the dynamic that we currently have, with everybody improving.
And dare I say, that is the excitement of qualifying, isn't it? Because it becomes a real drama-filled fest of fantastic fun all the way through until the clock counts down to 0. And even when the clock has counted down to 0, you can still be on a hot lap and still be improving. Von Skeltemer goes to P1, Eric Chung P2, and that means that Ernst Kirchmeier is relegated to P3. Here comes Jean Roux. Personal best sector 1, better than anyone through sector 2 within class is Jean Roux. He's certainly going to beat Boris Gideon, and he beats a couple of Shell drivers as well by putting it P2 overall. That was a brilliant lap from Jean Roux, who will be buoyed, of course, by the success that he had yesterday by taking the win. His first win of the season. We've seen it coming, and yesterday he delivered it with aplomb, and he's doing it again in qualifying right now.
100%, and well supported, obviously, also in the garage, as is Charles Chan. And as you can see from the color coding on the graphics, he's also very much on an upward trajectory. Forget the P11 on your screen, it's gonna be P2, and it's by only a few 1,000ths off the pace of Jean Roux, but significant improvement, and both of them showing that yesterday's podium success was no fluke at all. Oh, slipstream battle in qualifying.
Love it.
Rather think that may have compromised the lap for Ernst Kirchmeier just a little bit, not being able to take that turn number 3 at the top of the hill in the way that he would have liked.
2 Austrians together. I think it's Fritz Müller that is ahead of him. Ernst Kirchmeier, we run the telemetry on his car now on the run down to turn 4, on the brakes now, in the 6th gear. Slow, 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 then back on the gas again. He's currently 2nd fastest within class. There is Charlie Hollings to the right-hand side of your picture. One of the driver coaches here. David Fuminelli, another one of the driver coaches as well, working for the Kessel Racing team and supporting their drivers and pushing them as hard as they can. It's always fantastic to see. Skeltermar is P1, and it's Eric Chung is P2 for the Shell drivers. For the AM drivers, it is Jean Roux and Charles Chan. Again with that Asia-Pacific bent, if you will, on qualifying. And Ernst Kirchmeier here, as you can see, Sector 1 and Sector 2 coloured dark grey, which means that he's bailed this lap and he's going to go for it right now. He'll go for another one. He's got clear track space ahead of him. So ignore this lap. Let's go for this one. Here comes Ernst Kirchmeier for Kessel Racing. We'll keep an eye on the clock during the course of the qualifying lap. Just under 9 minutes remaining as Charles Chan cements his position in P2. And Sven Schirmer has just posted a 1:30.011. There's only 2 drivers in the 129s, and that's one from Shell and one from Shell AM. And the one from Shell AM is the car that we're looking at right now, Jean Roux, who has taken very nearly half a second out of his previous best time. Now, he has got cars ahead of him, and that car is Dr. Stephen Earle. I think it's far enough up the road that it won't compromise his efforts because he's reaching the conclusion of this lap. Now, it's not unheard of, but we could see a Cobra Shell AM driver go to the very top of the chart here. Let's see as Jean Roux crosses the timing line, and he does that. He is quicker than anybody else with a 1:29.536, Nico.
Indeed, and a very, very good lap. As you said, no traffic compromised his efforts. And he goes to the very, very top of our timing screen. So who's out of position right now? I would argue Tibor Valens in P23, very much out of position. Lisa Clark in 20th, or now 21st, also way down the order. Others, Ernst Kirchmeier outside of the top 10, Boris Gideon in P8. But just as I say that sentence, Eric Kirchmeier vaults everybody and moves up into P1.
But he's only done it by 5/100ths.
But he's done it for the time being, and Charles Chan also with an improvement. So now we can see the times are coming down even more. Tibor Valens just vaulted to P6.
Some drivers choosing to leave it until late in the session, which is always something of a gamble, but if the gamble pays off, it just basically means they expel less use of the Pirelli tyres, which gives them tyre longevity in the race potentially. Von Skeltermar, he's looking for an improvement. Yeah, he is currently 2nd fastest within class, but it would be a row 3 start. He'd like to be on the front row of the grid, and well, his final sector was a good final sector, but it's not one that overall improved his position. Ernst Kirchmeier, Jean Roux, Von Skeltermar, Charles Chan, as that's a car off. Is that the Fritz Müller car? I don't think it is. It's Eric Chung. It is Eric Chung. And Eric Chung, who is P3 in class and P5 overall. Now, is he going to be able to recover from there? Let's see what happened. Just catching the back. Yeah, it just snaps away, holds onto it initially, and then it lets go. But thankfully, Eric is able to just kiss the barrier. I think other than a slightly bent door mirror, as we now have a red flag, which is almost inevitable, because that means the car is going to have to be recovered. With 6 minutes remaining, it's right on the cusp of whether the session would resume or not, but I think it probably will.
Yeah, I mean, the lap here is not that long, as we saw pole time 1:28 high. So that means with an outlap and maybe one more installation lap, you're still going to get 2 more laps in.
Right.
That would count, because obviously any lap that you start with, even 1 second left on the clock, you can still finish and it will count for your qualifying efforts. The reaction from the Kessel Racing garage, obviously, in response to the Ernst Kirchmeier provisional pole lap.
And indeed, for their dominance. I mean, they're the top 3 drivers.
very fair point, followed by 2 Formula Racing drivers, including Eric Chung, who we just saw off the track. Now, going to be interesting if he can bring the car back and continue in this session.
Kessel, of course, are a renowned team with Ferrari, who have been successful not only in the Ferrari Challenge but lots of other racing as well. The team led by Ronnie Kessel, and there you can see Eric Chung, who will be disappointed, but he's out of the car and he's perfectly okay. It's just one of those things. I mean, you know, he saved it really well, to be fair, and Eric will I hasten to say, be satisfied with his P3 within class. Whether it stays that way with 6 minutes remaining when we do get the session underway again, who knows. But Eric Chung is a race winner this year and certainly knows how to pedal a Ferrari Challenge car. One of the most experienced Ferrari Challenge racers, and a very, very good racer. So as I'm saying, the Kessel dominance is such that Ernst Kirchmeier, this man who is quickest of the Shell drivers before the session was suspended, he's a Kessel driver. Jean Roux, who's the quickest of the Shell AM drivers, is a Kessel driver. And Fons Skeltermeyer, who's third fastest of all the drivers and second fastest within the Shell class, he too a driver of this team, Kessel. Jean Roux being congratulated there for what he has achieved so far. And of course, he was very happy with his performance in the race yesterday. So session's going to restart in just a minute and a half's time. Enjoy these images from Spielberg. Here comes the dash for cash then, as we bet the session back on. And the news that I can bring you is that Ernst Kirchmeier feels that he's done enough. He is out of the car and has decided not to contest the final 6 minutes of this qualifying session, as the green light comes on at the end of the pit lane and the cars filter out. One car that will not be filtering out is that of the 106296, and there is Ernst Kirchmeier. Feels that he's done enough, doesn't need to go out. He is going to stay where he is and hope that no one is able to better his 1:28.977 time. In fairness, he is half a second quicker than anybody else, as we watch Alois Meyer then, the Go Motorsport Engstler driver, who'll go through his warm-up routine now, bringing everything up to temperature inside the car. As the session was suspended for the recovery of the Eric Chung car, it was Ernst Kirchmeier, the quickest of the Shell drivers, Jean Roux, the quickest of the Shell AM drivers. I'm far from convinced we're going to see quicker times in the final 5 minutes of this session. But, as has been the case on so many occasions before, I have and can be proved wrong. Alois Meyer might be one of those drivers to do that. Let's see, as this final dash for cash in qualifying to set the grid for our Copa Shell and Copa Shell AM race this afternoon continues with 4.5 minutes remaining. Love this onboard shot of Alois Meyer then inside his office, working so hard. Sven Schirmer has gone back out again now. Sven Schirmer is P4 in class, but critically with a couple of Shell Am drivers in the mix, it means that Sven Schirmer would actually, at the moment, be starting from the third row of the grid, which is almost unheard for this driver, who is last year's Ferrari Challenge Copa Shell Am champion. And by dint of him winning the championship, he moves up a category into the Shell drivers for this season. And Sven Schirmer, who seems remarkable that we say this, he's only taken one win this season. He's had podiums, but it's only been one win, which for a driver as determined as the peddler of the 175 car, we'll see what Sven Schirmer can do now during qualifying in the 3.5 minutes that remain in qualifying. But as I mentioned, I'm not convinced we're going to see much of an improvement in terms of times.
Well, we will find out. And I mean, you talked about Sven Schirmer. He picks up a little bit of dirt there through the windy part in the middle of the track. He was Shell Am champion last year. Means he's elevated to a higher category. So you would maybe think, oh, you need some time to find your footing and get on the speed of your competitors. Sven Schirmer doesn't view it like that. He thinks like, well, I'm the center of my racing universe, and track limits on that occasion. Let's see, what would the lap time have been had it counted? It would have been a good one, and it would have been an improvement. It would have been a P4 probably, and this is as close as it can be sometimes. But race control, Claudio Garavini, will look at these spots on the track as a black and white. Either you're inside the white line or you're outside. No grey areas as we take a look at Tibor Valent on the track.
Tibor is third fastest in class, but again, Tibor Valent, it would be a third row start for Tibor if the session were to finish now and everything stayed the same. He's done a personal best through Sector 1. Let's see what his Sector 2 time is going to look like now for the Hungarian driver, who of course will be racing at his home circuit of Budapest later on this season. Was another personal best, but he's 2/10 down on the best time of Ernst Kirchmeier. You don't need to colour every sector purple, and some sectors perform better than other sectors for certain drivers. I can see from the feed into our studio that Ernst Kirchmeier has his eyes absolutely glued to the screens and the data. He's hoping that his 1:28.977 is not going to be beaten. It's certainly not going to be beaten by Tibor Valent, but Tibor gets a lot closer and improves to P2. So Tibor Valent goes as Sven Schirmer now usurps Tibor Valent. So Tibor Valent and Sven Schirmer arguing, if you will, over that P2 place with 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining in this qualifying session. Here comes von Skeltermar, who at the moment is fourth fastest in class, but it's P5 overall, which means it's a row 3 start for von Skeltermar. His Sector 1 was good, his Sector 2 not quite so good. But he is certainly going to have time to go again, should he so desire. So as von Skeltermar rounds the final turn, heads towards the timing beam, which he crosses. With 40 seconds remaining, it does mean that von Skeltermar can put another lap in. It's Kirchmeier, Schirmer, Valent. Jean-Roux is the best of the AM drivers ahead of Charles Chan and Masaru Yaneda. So it's a replica almost of the Shell Am podium that we had yesterday in terms of qualifying performance right now. Tibor Valent, his Sector 1 and his Sector 2 are times that are not going to improve him sufficiently, I would think, to trouble either Sven Schirmer or Ernst Kirchmeier, unless he's been able to pull a rabbit out of the hat in the final sector. And is he going to get another lap in? No. Or did he? He just crossed so he can go again.
That was a matter of just a tenth or so that he made it, and he is exactly still in the fight for pole position. I'm not sure if that turn 1 was ideal, had a little bit of a sideways moment, but we will see when he takes the first sector line. Jean-Roux, he is P1 in class. First sector, Tibor Valent, 2/10 off the pace. Not great, but not necessarily out of it yet. Jean-Roux, he looks fairly untroubled in this P1 position in class, certainly no longer improving. Is there anybody who is currently challenging him? It doesn't look like it. So probably in spite of no further improvement for Jean-Roux, this is going to be P1 in class. And indeed he decides to bring it into the pit lane. And I rather think the tense moment that Ernst Kirchmeier certainly had there for a moment in terms of his pole position have paid off. Because it looks like, by all indications, that his P1 is secure.
Well, Tibor is just under track limits as well, which will put the cocked hat on him improving, in my opinion, Nico. So this man that you can see center picture right now, he's not celebrating yet, but I think his pole position is assured. Now he celebrates. So well done to Ernst Kirchmeier, well done to Sven Schirmer, who sealed P2. And well done to Jean-Roux and Charles Chan, who are P1 and P2 in the AM drivers category. So Ferrari Challenge Coperchel and Coperchel AM qualifying is completed. We'll bring you the classification in just a few moments, but take a look at those that starred in that feature film of qualifying, if you will, from Spielberg circuit here in Austria. Best of the AM drivers for Kessel Racing, Jean-Roux. Double bubble for Kessel Racing, of course. They have the best of the Shell AM drivers, and not only, they have the best of the Shell drivers as well with this man, Ernst Kirchmeier, who has put it on pole position. Kessel once again proving their dominance here at the Austrian circuit, Spielberg. So here come the results then, the full classification of who did what and where and what category they're in. Top three then, Ernst Kirchmeier, Sven Schirmer, Tibor Valent, they are all Shell drivers. Then it was Jean-Roux ahead of von Skeltermar, Charles Chan, Eric Chung and Masaru Yaneda. So the three Shell AM drivers there. Then it was Giuseppe Romelli, Karl Runefeld, Shintaro Akatsu, Khaled Budai, Boris Gideon, Fritz Muller, Henrik Kamstrup. And then P16 goes the way of Stephen Earle. Then it was Leon Rindbeek, Alexei Komarov, Ken Sato, Paolo Scudieri, Alois Meyer, Tommy Lindroth ahead of Lisa Clark. That's the way the classification shapes up for Coperchel and Coperchel AM qualifying. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Hi everyone, this is the Spielberg circuit in Austria, and this is Ferrari Challenge round 3 of our 2026 season, with qualifying about to get underway for our Trofeo Pirelli and Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers. Here comes our formal and official welcome, if you will, to our circuit here. And we are on the 3rd round, and we are on the shortest circuit of the season before heading to the longest circuit on the season, as we have 2 support races at the Le Mans 24-hour event before heading off to Portimao, then Budapest and Barcelona. We've already done Le Castellet and Mugello, of course, and here we are in Austria with mix of a harmless high cloud and some blue skies. Track temperature 16 degrees, the air temperature is 10 degrees. The weather conditions across the course of race day 1 and race day 2 have been significantly better than we had anticipated or indeed been told to expect yesterday, certainly, and today looking pretty good as well. 4.3 kilometers, 10 turns, 3 left, 7 right. The elevation change from the start-finish straight all the way up to turn 3 is some 63.5 meters. It is a real roller coaster through the mountainous region of Styria here in Austria. This red-colored circuit of Spielberg. Here are the drivers that we will see, and talking of red, if they have red color bars, that means they are a Pirelli driver. If they have white color bars, it means they're a Pirelli AM driver. Sergio Paulet, Max Mugelli, Danilo Del Favero, Herbert Guys, Matt Rosner, Anders Bidstrup, Michael Verhagen, Lucas Asato, Jacob Bidstrup, Nobuhiro Imada, Fernando Monye, Giacomo Rinaldo, and the returning Hendrik Viol, who was victorious yesterday. Hendrik Viol was Pirelli AM champion last year and has returned as a race winner. We're looking at Lucas Asato now. Lucas Asato, when we were last racing in Mugello, was a Copachel AM driver, and such has been his prowess that he's been moved up to Trofeo Pirelli for Kessel Racing, and this is Nobuhiro Imada, who has done a lot of racing in his fine career and continues to do that, not only in these wonderful Ferrari Challenge 296 cars, but also in single-seaters as well. Nobuhiro Imada, a driver to be reckoned with. Michael Verhagen, who very unusually was not a race winner yesterday. In fact, his 4-strong race-winning feat was brought to an abrupt end yesterday. The Pirelli AM driver, Michael Verhagen, then, having had a non-stop winning streak, found himself P2 to Anders Bidstrup, who took the win yesterday. This is Herbert Guys, driver of the number 11 car. And the cars are accelerating along the pit lane now because the light at the end of the pit lane has gone green. So the Bidstrup brothers, Anders and Jacob, come out. You filter out of the pit lane to the exit of turn 1 and then head up through the kink, which is turn 2, before my favorite turn on the track, which is turn number 3, which is where the cars are heading right now. That's the kink that is turn number 2. Max Mugelli champing at the bit to get going. Then it is this turn 3. I love this turn here. It's a great opportunity to overtake, should you be bold and brave enough, and you do need to be bold and brave. And this is Fernando Monye then for Quadras Gallery and Goat Racing in the Ferrari Challenge. He did a fine job yesterday, in my opinion. What is my opinion worth? Not a lot, frankly, but nonetheless, I thought he did a good job yesterday in that number 74 car and was on the podium, P3.
Yeah, it was a really interesting battle yesterday in the race with Hendrik Viol, Sergio Paulet, and Fernando Monye, seesawing. The gaps were coming down, compressing all the time. There wasn't an overtake at the end of the day, but it was fairly entertaining and exciting because the overtake, in several instances, was very much on. Danilo Del Favero, interesting color scheme on the crash helmet, obviously paying homage to some of motorsport's greats.
Danilo going through his warm-up routine now as he exits the pit lane. You're absolutely right. The battle between Sergio Paulet and Hendrik Viol was intense towards the end of the race yesterday, and If I'm honest, they both left Fernando Monnier a little bit towards the end of the race, but it was a phenomenal race that we enjoyed yesterday. Here's Michael Verhagen then getting into his 296 Challenge car. He still leads the championship, and he's been very dominant this season, and he will be hoping that he will have a good race today. So Fernando's family, guests and team look on then. Try not to be too impacted or affected by our RF television camera inside the garage there, taking a look at the emotions that can be discovered at any time during the course of the qualifying session, of which 3 minutes jolly near already have been taken. There's Hendrik Viol, victorious yesterday for Scuderia Prague Racing. Hendrik is a certainly successful racing driver, having won the Pirelli AM Championship last year. He came close to winning it the year before as well, but last year was his year. He took the win, and he certainly took the win on his return to racing yesterday. It's always been, and there's Claudia, his partner, looking on. It's always been clear from Hendrik that he wouldn't be able to compete in a full campaign this year. It would only be a bit part campaign, but of course, when he takes to the track, he wants to make sure that he's a race winner, and he did that, Nico.
Indeed, and effectively picked up where he had left off in last season's success. It didn't come easy, naturally, but he made his 296 car exactly as wide as it had to be to stay in P1, fending off Sergio Paulin's valiant efforts. And talking about valiant effort, he's putting his toe in the water for a first timed lap at the moment. As we already saw in Coppachel, we don't expect those times at the early stage of the session to necessarily be the relevant ones. But it's always better to have a good banker than to not have a banker yet. We're still only 4 minutes and a few seconds into the session, so a lot can and will happen. But already, with the exception of Michael Verhagen, all the drivers are out on track, and therefore traffic will already be quite intense.
Right. Early on, you can see when you push, and push really hard, it can bite you on the bottom. And that's precisely what happened there. It was a big save from Lucas Azato, to be fair. Managed to control that and hold on to it, but you're running on a knife edge. Max Mugelli is the quickest driver ahead of Sergio Paolo and Fernando Monnier. Make that Jacob Bidstrup now, who goes to the top of the chart, but Max Mugelli suddenly usurps him. Here is Fernando Monnier then, sector 1 is coloured purple. Now bear in mind, most of these drivers will be out on a set of tyres that they used in the race yesterday. Then they will come in and put a new set of tyres on to go for their real qualifying session, if you will, perhaps in the second half of this session. But Fernando Monnier looking very good at the moment. Sector 1 and Sector 2 both coloured purple. He's got this corner and one more corner to do before he rounds out the lap, and this could be a new provisional P1 time from the driver from Quadis Gallery Go Racing. Fernando Monnier then breaks the timing beam and stays ahead of the game and goes P1 with a 1:30.714 to the delight of his guests in the garage of his team. Here's Max Mugelli, also improving. Purple sector, sector 1 for Max Mugelli, already a race winner in Trofeo Pirelli this season. Will he replicate that success in race 2 here at Spielberg? Potentially so, because sector 1 and sector 2 in qualifying are both purple at the moment. He means business here. Max Mugelli then from the CDP Eureka Competizione team, heading towards the timing beam now. Is this going to be a new provisional P1? Not quite, a 1:37.30, just 1.5 100 slower than Fernando Monnier, who crossed the timing line just literally a second beforehand. So Max Mugelli then on something of a mission here. And here we can see in replay just how hard he is pushing us. Lucas Azato, who we saw pirouetting a few moments ago, went momentarily quickest, but by 8/100, Giacomo Rinaldo who is an AM driver, has gone quickest. Here is Fernando Monnier then, determined to be at the top of the chart. He's second currently. Is this going to be enough? He's got to beat a 1:30.554, and he does that with a 1:32.69. A 1:32.69 then from Fernando Monnier, and to the best of my knowledge, Fernando is still on a set of scrub tyres from yesterday. In fact, we think that's the case for nearly all of the drivers. Not seen meaningful times yet from Danilo Del Favaro or Michael Verhagen. And there is the car being driven by Giacomo Rinaldo for Rosso Corsa Racing. 22 minutes of the qualifying session here at the Spielberg circuit. Left in prospect with Fernando Monnier, P1. Lucas Desato, P2, Max Mugelli, P3. That's the way it looks for the Pirelli drivers. For the AM drivers, it's Giacomo Rinaldo ahead of Jacob Bidstrup and Nobuhiro Imada. Out of position at the moment in qualifying, Hendrik Viol and Nobuhiro Imada, I'm tempted to say, as well as Sergio Paulet. But we've still got a long way to go, 21.5 minutes.
Yeah, we can see the first cars have come into pit lane just as Giacomo Rinaldo vaults himself in onto the provisional front row, and P1 in class, Sergio Paulet, we can see from the graphics, has run afoul of track limits on this attempt. You will obviously have been advised by his team that this lap will not count. So let's see if he decides to go around again or if he brings it into the pit lane. He does not, and therefore will have another go crossing the timing line and potentially go about setting a better time and a provisional P1 on this time around. Fernando Monnier has come into the pit, so has Max Mugelli, Nobuhiro Imada and Herbert Geis. Max Mugelli, as you can see, not a huge rush among the team. Obviously this all very much according to plan and the qualifying routine. First sector for Sergio Paulet, not a bad one. Personal best, 2/10 of the provisional pole time.
Number of drivers in the pit lane now, including Fernando Monnier, Max Mugelli, who we've seen. Also Jacob Bidstrup, Hendrik Viol and Nobuhiro Imada. So we can only imagine that they are having new Pirelli tyres put onto their cars, ready to go about qualifying in the best possible scenario in the final 20 minutes of this qualifying session. We are seeing a number of drivers fall foul of the track limits and have their lap times deleted. Those that have fallen foul of that include Fernando Monnier, Max Mugelli, and also this driver, Sergio Paulet, who we saw just on his last lap having that lap time taken away. And that's what happens during qualifying. Basically, if you fall afoul of the track limits by running two wheels over the white lines, then you will have that lap time deleted. And Sergio Paulet now decides to come into the pit lane with the view of putting fresh tyres on to go for a more intense second half, if you will, of the qualifying session. And as Nico indicated, these are not performance pit stops, so the drivers, teams are not in any great hurry to get these tyres replaced.
Quite a lot of activity here in pit lane, and indeed right now there is only two cars who are out on track, which includes Lucas Azato as well as Matt Rosner. Everybody else having decided to bring it in. The first of the pit stops is leaving pit lane again, coming through shot here also. And that means the P's with the blue backdrop will turn into orange O's, meaning outlap. So those drivers,
wow.
2 laps of preparation. My limited Italian knowledge.
Just discussing to get the max out of the lap time. So cars leaving the pit lane now. Having put on new tyres. And there you can see the Quarters Gallery Fernando Monnier car poised, ready to go back out on the track. The lollipop there being held to make sure the driver is not released into the path of another car. There you can see final torquing going on, and by torque I mean T-O-R-Q-U-E, making sure that the wheel nut is done up. Big thumbs up from Max Mugelli, who, as I mentioned, is a race winner for CDP Eureka competition this season, and he would love to replicate that race-winning feeling as some of the local wildlife then takes an interest on the Fernando Monnier car. I would have suggested some of the colour scheme, to be honest with you, as Danilo Del Favero, who we're on board with now, who's certainly out of position in terms of qualifying. He's P7 in class for the Penske Sportwagen Hamburg driver. We would expect more from Danilo than that. He's being coached by Eddie Cheever this weekend. It was nice to have a chat with Eddie in the paddock yesterday. Long been associated with this fantastic series that is the Ferrari Challenge. So, as most of the drivers came in to execute their tyre changes, it was Fernando Monnier, quickest of the Pirelli drivers, and Giacomo Rinaldo, the quickest of the AM drivers. We have 16 and a half minutes of the qualifying session remaining, so stand by. I'm expecting to see some lap times come down. We're expecting times definitely into the 129s. At the moment, we haven't had that. The times have all been 130s and 131s. So, yeah. New rubber, pleasantly dry tarmac means we should get into the 129s. Hendrik Viol then stationary in the pit lane at the moment. He, of course, for Scuderia Prague Racing, was a race winner yesterday. Danilo Del Favero then on the run-up towards the kink, which is turn 2. Love this onboard shot. Here is turn 2. And then the uphill turn 3, where you continue climbing uphill as you go through turn 3. Look at that elevation change there. On the gas again. It's one of the favoured places to perhaps get an overtake done. There are many different lines that you can take going into turn 3 and Danilo into turn number 4 right now, which kind of starts the roller coaster downhill section, if you will, of this Spielberg circuit, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. Danilo Del Favero had a great start through turn 1, through turn 2, and it was turn 3 where it went sideways for him, had a coming together, and unfortunately that resulted in some damage to the car, which he had to retire. But it was a great start. He improved several positions.
His race start yesterday, you're so right. I mean, I think he vaulted 5 cars or something, certainly 4. And then, as you say, just contact going into turn number 3 meant that his race was effectively over, which was a great shame because there was much promise.
Absolutely. But I think he will feel confident in the fact that he nailed what he had intended to do, and just a little bit more cautious maybe going into turn 3, and that could result in a very, very good race finish today. Everybody but Nobuhiro Imada now back out on track, and you can sense that how much more lively the circuit is. And for now, no big improvements yet, but it's just a matter of moments, minutes potentially, before we see personal bests and overall bests. I have no doubt about it. Jacob Bidstrup, currently 3rd in class, finishing this lap. You can already see the second sector was a personal best, and overall he improved in terms of time, although not position. But this is certainly a lap that is worth watching. Keeps it within the white lines on the exit of turn 1, which is important because that's one of the scenes or spots where race control will have a very, very keen eye. We go to Anders Bidstrup. In the middle part of the section, this left-hander, you then really, really run downhill as if on a ski slope.
That's an appropriate comparison to make here, really, isn't it? As just this morning as we drove into the circuit admiring the snow peaks that forms something of a backdrop here at the Spielberg circuit. So with 13 minutes remaining, as near as makes no difference, we're not seeing huge lumps of time being taken out, but I think it is only a matter of time before we see improvements. No one has bettered the 1:32.69 from Fernando Monnier yet, but the drivers have been using the last lap or so as an installation to bring everything up to temperature before really going for it. So I confidently predict that we will be into the 1:29s before we see the end of this session. Sergio Paulet goes past Hendrik Viol, who Paulet certainly was on the shirt tails, if you will, of Hendrik Viol yesterday and wasn't able to get past him in the race. Sergio Paulet with personal best through Sector 1 and Sector 2, which he needs, to be honest, because he is P4 in class, which is not where we would expect to see Sergio Paulet, and I suspect not where we will see him at the end of the qualifying session, as he rounds the final turn now and heads to breaking the timing beam. Personal best and better than anyone across the final sector means that Sergio Paulet is the first of the drivers to put it into the 1:29s. Rapidly followed, however, by Max Mugelli, who's done the same.
Indeed, a 1:29.802. I rather predict that we might even get into the 1:28. The trajectory and the history from the previous sessions when the conditions were favorable, certainly there. Danilo Del Favaro, we talked about him already, just keeps it, hugs the white line, can't exceed it, and P3 stays P3, but he took quite a bit of time from his previous best.
And he is better than anybody, and bearing in mind he is a Shell Am driver, Nico. A 1:29.722 from Danilo Del Favaro is a hugely impressive time.
Indeed, was a little bit confused by the graphics for a moment, switching later than I anticipated. Indeed, he has moved up into P1, not only in class but overall.
8/100ths quicker than Sergio Paulet, so well done, Danilo. Here is Max Mugelli then, who's Sector 1 and Sector 2 are both purple, Nico. This is looking good for Max Mugelli, who is second fastest within class at the moment, but fourth fastest overall. Oh, steady on, Max. You want to keep it within the white lines. And he's touting with the very edges of what's allowed and what isn't allowed with regards to track limits. I think he'll get away with this thus far, and this could be a new P1 time. Indeed it is. 1:28.809. We've now got two drivers in the 28s. As you predicted, Nico, we are into the realms of the 28s, and it is Max Mugelli and Sergio Paulet.
And Jacob Bidstrup, meanwhile, P3 overall, P1 in class. There is Fernando Monnier. Not where he wants to be, not where he was yesterday, but he, as you can see, with the telemetry on screen, look in the garage as well, he is getting to work. Currently third in class, rounding out, approaching the final two turns. Double right-hander. This is one of the parts where you really have to make sure you hit the apex and don't exceed the track limits. And once again, this was very close, a little bit of a sideways moment, trying to control it, not run too wide. And indeed, it was the final sector which was blisteringly quick.
A 1:28.431, really impressive from Fernando then. So 1:28.431 is 3 3/4 tenths quicker. You can see the appreciation within the Goat Racing garage as well. Richly deserved. We're right on board with Fernando, who's improving still further with a quicker than anyone Sector 1, 21.763 through Sector 1. That is impressive. It's Monnier, Paulet, Mugelli. Hendrik Viol has got to come up with a response here. He is P5 in class. That's P9 overall. Fernando Monnier absolutely going for it now, as I mentioned. As Danilo Del Favaro is about to round out another phenomenal time, and he's P1 in class at 1:28.821. Fernando Monnier then, quicker than anyone, Sector 1. Overall, Sector 1. Sector 2, personal best. One more turn to do for Fernando Monnier. Kisses the apex on the inside, makes sure he keeps it within the white lines on the exit. Heads towards the timing beam now. And a 1:28.348 with 8 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. This is really, really exciting. Sergio Paulet. It's personal best, Sector 1 and Sector 2. Not overall bests. Does it matter? Not necessarily. If he can round it all in the final turn and the final sector.
It was very, very much towards the edge there. And he doesn't need a lot, and he made up 5/1000 on the final sector, but it's just over a tenth of the pace. We're 7.5 minutes away from the checkered flag coming out, so this battle, you said it so many times, sometimes qualifying is as exciting as the race, and I think this is exactly one of those where the battle is most firmly on. Who's missing from that battle for the time being is Hendrik Viol, yesterday's race winner. He hasn't found the pace yet, and he's only in P8 overall, so that bears watching.
Here's Herbert Guys, who's been relatively quiet by his own... oh, we've got a yellow flag at turn 6, but Herbert Guys... Oh, and that's the reason why. It's Lucas Azato. Now, he's beached in there. He's not getting out of there. You can see the rear wheels are dug right into the gravel. That's going to be a red flag, in my opinion, for this qualifying session.
And there it is.
Yeah, because that car is going to have to be recovered. And it's a similar fate, really, with this qualifying session as we saw in Copichel, Nico, because at almost exactly the same time, we had a red flag.
I think we're about 7 seconds out from, from that. So exactly right. However high your adrenaline level was, however fast your pulse was pumping, now everything's coming a little bit down before it will heat up once again. Some drivers will decide potentially to stay in the pit lane, others will most certainly go out. Hendrik Viol, certainly one of those.
What we saw in the Copichel qualifying session before this one was actually there was a fraught flurry of activity towards the end of the session. But actually no one was able to better the pole sitting time in the Shell session. It's not to say that's going to run the same way with this. You can see Fernando Monnier very, very graphic in his discussions that are going on team radio right now. A 1:28.348 is an impressive lap time. Sergio Paulet was getting closer. So the clock stops when we have a red flag. There's 6.5 minutes remaining. Now, you did the calculations last time around when we had the stoppage in the Copichel, allowing for 2 installation laps, if you will, from the drivers that choose to stay out there. That would give them potentially 2 more laps on the clock for qualifying purposes.
Yeah, pretty much. You've got 1.5 minutes at race pace, so 6.5 minutes. Now, obviously, on the out lap, on the installation lap, you won't be quite as quick, but you only need to finish lap 3 effectively before the clock has totally reached quadruple zeros.
Danilo Del Favro, like Anders Bidstrup, considering not going to go again. He's done as much as he can do. I mean, it is at the moment provisional pole within class, isn't it? And it would be, there's Eddie Cheever to the left-hand side of the screen talking to him. As far as he's concerned, he's done everything that he can do. Enjoy these images before we go back to qualifying momentarily. latest information we have from race control. As you can see, the session will restart in 50 seconds from now. So great job done by the team here at Spielberg circuit in terms of recovering the stricken Lucas Asato car. And the final 6.5 minutes of qualifying here in Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli Am will be go in 30 seconds from now. So a lovely bit of stereo phasing across the music bed that accompany the pictures then that we can see. And we go back to qualifying right now as the Lucas Asato car is recovered and is back out on track. And green flag at the end of the pit lane. I would suggest hold on to your hats because this could be pretty exciting, the final 6 minutes of qualifying. A number of drivers, I think, will not be taking part in this. We already know that Danilo Dal Favaro will not. We already know that Anders Bidstrup will not. We think Jacob Bidstrup won't either. Fernando Monnier certainly is going to. He, at the moment, has got his provisional pole position to defend a 1:28.348. Sergio Paula getting very close. So too Max Mugelli. Drivers that are out of position for the Pirelli drivers, Nico, definitely Hendrik Viol. In my opinion, for the AM drivers, probably Herbert Geis and Michael Verhagen for sure.
Yeah, also Nobuhiro Imada, who's bringing up the rear for the time being, has shown much more pace than would befit a P13 start. But yes, I think everybody else, you pointed out absolutely correctly, and Hendrik Viol, most prominently race winner yesterday, finds himself in P nowhere for the time being, and he will certainly be eager. We've seen him being very, very clutch towards the end of qualifying, when he needed that lap, when he needed to improve. More often than not, he nailed it and got it exactly right. So this is going to be the challenge for him, for the likes of Michael Verhagen, who's just completed his outlap. All but 3 cars and drivers have decided to come back out. So it's not the busiest place it has ever been, but you have to make sure that you find the track space, because you really don't have the time to linger and wait for another lap. You really have to find the space, the time, obviously the ability, and seize it and make the most of it. First sector for Hendrik Viol. I think we can still categorize that as a warm-up lap, deluxe, and that's going to be the next one that he has penciled to be the one.
I think I would agree with that. You make a very good point, though, when the pressure is on, Nico, and all of a sudden, you can make no mistake. You can have no traffic. You need everything. You need all your ducks aligned, as it were, quack in the right order, which is a ridiculous metaphor to use, but I thought I would. The ability you have to have any form of ability to just excuse the tiniest of error or the momentary lapse of concentration kind of goes away when the pressure is on. Now, Sergio Paula is out there again, but he's got track limits, and that means this lap time is going to be taken away. Danilo Dal Favaro's looking on, because, of course, Danilo at the moment is P1, but Michael Verhagen, all of a sudden, Nico, very, very quickly from the get-go, has gone second fastest in Pirelli Am. So Michael Verhagen, who I think it's fair to say was languishing down the bottom of the charts, he's delivered when he needed to. And here he is, the Ferrari Warsaw driver, Michael Verhagen, whose 4-strong winning streak came to an end yesterday. We'll be hoping for a better result potentially today. I mean, to be fair, he's still in a very commanding position in the championship. He took P2 yesterday. Michael Verhagen is certainly not a slug of a driver. he certainly knows how to propel these cars and does it so very well. Michael Verhagen then. His Sector 1 wasn't brilliant, his Sector 2 was better, but he hasn't yet troubled Danilo Dal Favro, and Danilo Dal Favro is not going to be able to respond because Danilo is not out there on track. And we've only got 2.25 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. Here comes Michael Verhagen right now to break the timing beam. I don't think, well, I was wrong. It is an improvement, and not only is it an improvement, it's an improvement over anybody, Nico. He has gone quicker than anybody as a Pirelli AM driver. He's bested 3 Pirelli drivers.
100%, yeah, and that very last track limit was right on the edge. I think he just made it. Fernando Monnier, he's still P1 in class, obviously relegated to P2, but I don't think that will be the case for much longer. And indeed, he responds, but it's only very small margins. Reaction in his box.
Goat Racing, Quadis Gallery. Fernando Monnier is something of a standout star, isn't he, in his introduction to the Ferrari Challenge. Delighted to have him here with us. And he has delivered a 1:28.058. Are we going to see a time in the 1:27s, Nico, before the end of this session is going to be touch and go? Because we've only got a minute remaining. But Sergio Paula has gone quicker than anyone through Sector 1. I said to you, please hold on to your hats because this qualifying session could be very exciting right towards its pinnacle. Fernando Monnier, P1. Michael Verhagen, P1 for the AM drivers. Where is Hendrik Viol? P5 in class, P9 overall, Nico. That is not good enough.
No, absolutely not. He is improving, but not by the leaps and bounds we would expect him to. Sergio Paulet now definitely off the track, already lost a little bit of time in the second sector. So it is a personal best, but it's not an improvement. Stays P3, but he's got one more chance.
One more. That's all. This will be the last lap for Sergio Paulet, and it's now or never. He has got to nail everything and get it all absolutely right. In replay, Sergio Paulet then. We slow it down. See how hard he is pushing. It's almost through turn number 1.
And we can see the first sector time. He is no longer competing for a pole position. He's already lost 3 seconds. Giacomo Rinaldo, he is second in class for the moment. Has seen the checkered flag. Where is Hendrik Viol? He is still battling, but he already lost 3/10 in Sector 1. So it's not going to be a pole position for him. Can he at least salvage something out of that final lap? Because right now he's 10th overall, and that's a far cry from the pace he showed yesterday.
Well, 10th overall means he's starting on row 5. Nobuhiro Imada, his Sector 1, I'm sorry to say, is not brilliant. So the checkered flag has come out. If you're on a lap, that lap will still count potentially. But no one is going to be able to go again. Nobuhiro Imada, who is 5th fastest in class, but that's P9 overall. Sergio Paulet has done everything that he can do. Here comes Nobuhiro Imada for Formula Racing, following the car of Sergio Paulet. I think this is going to be pole position for Fernando Monnier. I don't see anyone going quicker. And therefore, for Fernando Monnier, brilliant job done as Nobuhiro Imada rounds out the lap. Checkered flag is out. Hendrik Viol is done as well, Nico. A 5th row start for Hendrik Viol. In comparison to the pace that he showed yesterday in his race-winning prowess yesterday, he is certainly further down the order than he would like to be, just not able to get it all together in qualifying for whatever the reason. So Hendrik Viol, with work to do in the race, he's got, well, 9 cars ahead that he's got to overtake. That is not Hendrik Viol. That is definitely Hendrik Viol. He was trying hard, as you can see, doing a bit of lawn mowing as he was in pursuit.
Absolutely, as you can see from the graphics, everybody has completed their quali session, so the results are official. It is sometimes, you know, even best of the race drivers, sometimes they have a little bit of an off day, or the setup that they used yesterday and it worked brilliantly for yesterday's conditions just isn't as suitable for the slightly warmer conditions. I'm sure we will find out between now and the race. Michael Verhagen back on pole, but he also had to work hard. He was fairly down the order for quite a significant portion of the session, including all the way until the red flag came out.
And the thing is, and you and I have said this 150 times, but when you leave it until the last minute to do it, you run the risk of not being able to through external factors. And luckily for Michael Verhagen, he was able to do that. But for somebody like Hendrik Viol, it just didn't, as you say, it just didn't come together today. So well done to Fernando Monnier and to Michael Verhagen. We'll bring you the classified results in just a moment of who did what and where, whether you be a Pirelli driver or a Pirelli AM driver. Here they come right now. Fernando Monnier takes pole position for the Pirelli drivers. Michael Verhagen for the Pirelli AM drivers. They were ahead of Sergio Paolo, Max Mugelli, Giacomo Rinaldo, Danilo Del Favaro, Lucas Azzato and Anders Bidstrup. These results brought to you by Faye. With Nobuhiro Amada, Hendrik Viol out of position. Herbert Guys out of position, in my opinion. Jacob Bidstrup and Matt Rossner. That's the way it looks. Please make sure you join us for the Ferrari Challenge races to come this afternoon. Whether they be Copa Shell or Trofeo Pirelli, we are in for a treat here in Spielberg. Bye-bye for now.